Mr. Ralph. Sorry. I need to start over. Okay. First, let's adopt the agenda. And there is a couple changes. So.
I have two additions. One is the resignation of Sandy Block, and the other one is approval of Grant Holden to be a volunteer softball coach.
And I put those at the end of new business. Any other changes? Nope. Okay. All right. Well, I'll take a motion to adopt the agenda. All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next, we have Emma Ramel here for the mission and vision statement.
Emma is an 8th grader at Deuel. Her parents are Katie and Joe Ramel. She has 3 siblings in the school. We have Roxy, who's a senior, Cooper, who's a 6th grader, and Lincoln, a 4th grader. And Emma keeps herself busy in student council, volleyball, and drama club. And she actually was just at a student council event today over in T. So, thank you, Emma.
Dual School Mission Statement and Beliefs. Mission Statement: empower students to become independent learners, personally accountable, and responsible citizens. Belief Statement: Dual School District believes everyone in the community contributes to the education of the children in our school. Therefore, we are committed to personal responsibility and accountability, respecting others, and maintaining an open line of communication in the district, providing opportunities and resources for individual success, maintaining and communicating high academic and professional standards.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. All right. Thanks for bringing her. The next is, we had scheduled a public comment, but we're going to move that to next month. Hopefully. So no public comment or visitors tonight. Conflict of interest disclosures, none, correct? All right, next we'll move through the consent agenda items. The first being the minutes from the February 10th, 2025 meeting, and then the February payroll. I'll take a motion on those. Second? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next we will discuss in the old business the calendar hours. There you go, thank you.
I don't have anything right now. I know we had talked about setting the precedent of doing a set amount of hours above and beyond the 962 and a half minimum required by our state. So in looking at, I know Wade, you've talked about a 5% over the minimum, which just puts us just over a little over 1,000 hours. If that's something that the board would want to entertain, I guess we're open for discussion on where you'd want to go with that.
So I don't have the next year's scheduled plan in front of me readily.
And I'm sorry, I didn't print that out.
So if you want to,
Totally.
yeah, if you could grab that. So this year we're at 1025, and next year was like 1011?
10-11, yep.
Thank you.
Yep, you're right on.
That's memory, guys. Be proud.
That is pretty good.
That doesn't happen ever. And so 5% is typically what we're doing at the moment, or a little bit more than that. As a standard, I mean, this year, next year, it's a little bit more than 5%. But.
Yeah, it just provides a base, I think, when working on setting the calendar. It just gives, I guess, as far as a reference, what to do with snow days. I just think when you're down in that 1,000-hour range, it doesn't take long before in 1920, we were down to 966. I mean, it just doesn't take long. And I guess that's lower than I'm comfortable with. I I guess, is in, you know, the long and the short of it. That's just my thoughts, but, I just thought it would be helpful, doing this now for 7 or 8 years. We've been doing, you know, setting the calendar, and it just seems like it just gives some structure to the process.
5% puts us right at 10-10.
Yeah.
So no lower than next year, I
Nope.
guess, this calendar. Next year is starting.
As long as I know that moving forward, I'll just make sure that we're 5% over the minimum, and we know that.
So on the calendar, there's like little notes at the bottom where we kind of say 2 snow days are built in, whatever those are. We
Yep.
could just put that in the notes and ensure that you're above 10-10,
Yep.
unless, you know, the state requirement changes for whatever reason, or you could say 5% over the state.
Yeah,
Just
just use this as
Follow
a
that
template.
as a template, and that's kind of the part
Yep.
that we won't forget.
Right, yep, I
That
think
that's
that's, 'cause I don't know how, like I say, that was the question last time, is I don't know how you structure that as a policy, or it's,
Right.
yeah, I think that would be sufficient, to just have it on there as
kind of like a business process we're
Yep.
gonna try to stick to. And then maybe some years we'll have an anomaly where that might not work, and we'd have to figure that out as to why that won't work.
Yep. Sounds good.
So when the, when the school year changes, or as the calendar changes and our hours fluctuate up and down, should our contract days at 180 fluctuate up and down also? I mean, that shouldn't be because if we're at a year where we're like an hour or two over that 5%, like we're gonna be, then our 180 days is probably more than enough, isn't it? I mean, because there's a lot of days here where we have multiple Fridays in a row.
It depends. The only way I fluctuate that is with the Fridays. So I make sure I have all of my student contact days, and then to get to the teacher contract days, obviously I want those days of PD at the beginning,
Right,
but then the rest are Fridays that I plug in.
right. But on a year where we're down contact hours or close to that 5%, shouldn't that 180 come down a little bit also?
Good.
I mean, it doesn't have to be a set number, does it?
No.
The contracts have to change. If we
Right.
change
What's
the-
that?
The contracts would have to change.
The contract, it'd have to be negotiated with the
Negotiation.
teachers.
But-
Normally, we know the calendar before we know going into negotiations, the
Right.
contracts.
But it'd have to be something that could get amended or whatever.
Right,
Yeah.
But
right.
is it, I mean, that's something that we should look at, I think,
Um,
to keep it so that I mean, I just see a lot of like 3 or 4 Fridays in a row. Try and keep that every other Friday deal so that we, you know, that, like, it's kind of I'm sure it's a perk for hiring people or in our, you know, we don't have a high rollover rates. That
Yeah, I
has to
think
have something to do with it.
yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, Tony. I think having the 4-day school week is a definite care, and we actually talked about that. And there are some schools looking at doing some calendar type changes to attract teachers.
Well, I can't find it on one of these things that we looked at when we were doing a calendar. I'm pretty sure our contract days is one of the highest in the state.
I would say we're at 180 is. I could get you guys some data if you'd like to see what contract days look like.
Be helpful going into
We
negotiations.
just talked about this Wednesday too, and we were all over in the room. There were about, I don't know, 20 superintendents, so we ranged from 175 to 182. And I would say the majority were at 178, I would say.
Hmm.
But I could give you a spreadsheet as to where everybody's at, just in the,
Yeah, and I think if we
Yeah.
can stay in that range, I mean, it should fluctuate some. If our contract days go down or our contact days go down, there's no reason that our contract days should stay the same. And if our contact days goes up, then I mean, it can go back up, but the calendar changes every year with how
great.
things hit and fall, and I don't know that should be a set day that doesn't ever get looked at.
To me, though, if we never go below 10-10, I don't know that we would ever go below 180, you know, if that's our rule.
But If we're at
we do,
10-10,
then maybe.
and I feel like 180's high this year because of all the, I mean, we have a ton of Fridays where there's multiple Fridays in a row. If this is our lowest hours, then we should figure out and set what our lowest contract days should be with that hour. And set it just like we're setting 5%, say this is our lowest that will ever go for contract days, but it can go up. And I think it should fluctuate with the hours.
So you're saying less Fridays? I'm not following the Friday, multiple Fridays in a row.
Less Fridays teacher in, is what you're kind of saying, keeping it consistent
And that's what he
with
said, that's
the
how he gets to
Fridays.
his 180, is adding the Fridays or taking them out or whatever, but.
For
if you-
staff to be in.
Correct.
And you're wanting to be consistent on this either every other or,
Well, I mean, I know there's
Yeah.
times that it doesn't work that way,
right,
but
because of, yeah.
try and stay close to that.
Yeah.
And maybe it wouldn't work, but I just think it's something that we should.
Yeah, and I'm
look at.
curious to know what the staff thinks of that, like what the teachers think. Like, do they like those PD days? Do they like that time in the classroom to help
Right.
prepare themselves and prepare for their students? So I'd be in favor of kind of seeing what they want
It would
too.
be my suggestion to give you guys some sort of a report, just to show you where other schools are at, and maybe what some other 4-day schools are at.
Yep.
I think you hit it right on the head. Danae, our calendar is always done before negotiations, so we would have to have something in our negotiated agreement that would state contract days in relation to the calendar.
Mm-hmm.
So it's fluid.
Right.
The other part of that is we could potentially do a 2-year calendar, like some schools do too.
Hmm.
Throwing that out there.
So what's the salary obligation when you lower the calendar days?
There isn't.
Why
there
wouldn't there
isn't.
be?
Well, these teachers are putting in well over 180 days here. I mean, their contract is from 8 to 4, and you can't find a teacher that's not here before 8 and not here after 4. Almost every day.
Looking at the proposed budget, I mean, on years where there's 1%, like this year possibly could be, that might not be bad. An extra day, but you only get 1%.
Mm-hmm.
Something to look at.
Yeah, if you take away days, then do you take away pay? I mean, essentially.
Well, I just need to know how to defend that if I get asked that.
Well,
Because-
that's typically not how it's done.
Well.
Yeah.
But it's also been done the other way. So it's also been done where we've added days, going from 75 to 77. Now, or 76
And you
to
just get the
78.
same annual
But
pay.
it's also been done in conjunction with a large increase.
Right.
So in a sense, it has been done.
That's what I'm saying, if, you know, if this year we only get a 1%, we're only able to get, or whatever, I'm just, you know, throwing out numbers, just.
Because of the
because
state
budget's
recommendation.
not done
Mhm.
yet or whatever, but, if there's a year where we can only give 1% instead of a cost of living raise, that might not be a bad,
A payoff,
Mhm.
trade-off.
something like that.
Mhm.
Well, yeah, okay, I mean, we went up, how much last year? I mean, 7, 8%, not 11%, I mean, what was our increase last year? It was a pretty big number.
6, 4, I don't remember.
Last year was 4, it was the year before
That was big.
Yeah, I don't think we want to get into this based on what we get from the state is how we adjust our contract days. Because that's,
For pay, for
Right.
raises, yeah.
so, yeah, I guess my suggestion, I appreciate adding the 5%. Chad, if you want to bring the data back,
Yeah.
and we can revisit it, but appreciate it.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I think that number seems fair, 10-10, and going forward, yeah. Okay, well,
No.
no, just a discussion. Mm-hmm. Okay, sorry, now we'll move on to new business. So financial report for the month ending February 28th. Sorry, I'm not ready there yet. Page 6. And on, any questions or comments? How's food service going this week? Do we need to send reminders or on bills? We're still kind of in a negative number and it's not going down.
Well, yeah, it's better, we had a couple of words at once, too, but, I mean, yeah, what we're negative here, we're not, we don't have a big deficit.
Yeah, but that's doing okay this year so overall, like the bills. Do we need to send out reminders or anything, you think?
Send out reminders.
We do all the time. Good, okay.
Reminders every month on fees and on food service, if they're negative, like that.
I see the balance in capital projects is finally 0. That'll be all 0 going forward. Anything else to comment on? Otherwise, I can take a motion. All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next is on the bills. Starting on page 12. Any questions? I didn't see any myself. Maybe the capital outlay stuff, if you've had them handy, Ellen, I never asked you ahead of time.
The only thing, doing business is always a cost.
Paper, yeah, mm-hmm.
Stores, tables, that kind of, stores, table.
A new one or a fix of something?
What was that for? I don't know where it's from.
Oh,
That-
from
that-
safe?
that-
Yeah.
It's for, the radio person that sits on the visiting sidelines, so if you're at the end of
Oh, the
game,
table like up there.
it's a table that's fit just for those bleachers.
Oh, okay. Sorry, I didn't ask ahead of time. Any other questions on bills from you guys?
Pretty straightforward, I thought.
Mm-hmm. Me too. Okay, I'll take a motion on those.
Second?
Tony and then Wade?
Yep.
Okay. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we will approve the administrator contracts for Chad Schirnbeck, Ellen Schmall, Katie Hahn, Todd Ralph. Standard renewal. I'll just take a motion. Leah, second?
Second?
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the hire of Melissa Holly as a paraprofessional.
Melissa is filling the void in Mrs. London's room, and she actually just started today, so it worked out really good. We had a quick turnaround on filling that position.
Great. Welcome, Melissa. Take a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next, we'll review the strategic plan, student behavior and support section. It's just our kind of annual review of this area. And maybe I'll first put you all administrators on the spot to see if you guys took a chance to review. And
We
see if
did.
you
We
have
went,
changes.
we went through this, and we have some things that we're going to talk about, and possibly some additions with the Studer stuff too. I'll explain that later. Number one, teachers, principals, counselor will have set meeting times with high school students to cover secondary opportunities, scholarships, academic requirements for each 9 through 12 student, with a visit by a designated school personnel. You want to talk about that, Katie?
Sure. As we get into registering for the next year's classes, that's a perfect opportunity to meet with each student and go over what their plans are, how the classes that they're taking here can help them with their plans, and where they're at currently with credits.
And that's happening and that's kind of built in
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
great.
Number two, a course catalog will be distributed to the high school students and updated annually. Granted, with Katie coming in here, she's inheriting the previous year and might not necessarily know the protocol, but we've added a few courses here too, so it's something that we talked about today that needs to be updated, and it should be updated annually. But she's on top of that. Number 3, principals and teachers holding each other accountable to ensure that they're following the rules and regulations set forth by district policy. Student discipline and behavior issues will decrease. I read this when we went through it, and we all kind of just chuckled because that's what our job is. It's more of a job description than anything, and that's, that falls on the principal. So I don't know necessarily if that's needed or if it's just something that's understood, but it's still on there. It makes no difference.
To me, it means, when it says behavior issues will decrease, you don't know what your number you're starting out with is. So how are you going to even be able to measure if you're even attaining this, I guess? I mean, you're right, this is
Right.
kind of your job all year round.
And I'm not saying we don't have behavior issues.
We want to
but-
keep behavior issues at a minimum is what I would
Yes.
say there, I guess.
Yes.
But not, I don't know if, Wade, you were here when we built this, if you have any more context or thoughts to that. I know that's putting you on the spot, sorry, but.
I guess I don't recall the logic behind that, if it was, but yeah, there really isn't a metric in place for it. It's just, to me, kind of just more of a blanket statement.
Right.
Yeah.
So to me, I'd like to at least minimally change this will decrease, just be
Yeah.
kept at a minimum, is
I
what I was
just- yeah,
thinking.
I kept that note. Number 4, Student Council and Honor Society will be involved in building better student conduct, culture, and a cleaner environment. More student-centered activities like school dances after school. I think this has happened, definitely. Our student council is taking on a lot of things. We're doing dances, we're doing winter formals and those types of things, a lot of student-centered activities, and that's really been a focus, I think, and we've got good people in charge that are leading that, so to me, that's something that we're doing. Not necessarily saying we're checking this off, but we're keeping it on the forefront.
The better word, is that, do you still want to keep that word, or would you change that to
What's that?
the word better, that's listed twice?
Oh, gotcha.
Involved in building a better student conduct and better culture. I mean, I think
I would
the
just
goal of them is to just keep like a positive, maintain a positive culture, or, I don't know. Again, I'm just kind of trying to take out those measurements and how do we want it to be going to.
Right. Number 5 here refers to advisory groups that were mentioned in another part of the strategic plan, to get teacher input and review and assess student participation on Fridays. We thought that we could include something here from the Studer piece in regards to our rounding versus the advisory groups. So I think we could plug something in here as a byproduct of our rounding or teacher discussions. We can talk about how to better help on our Fridays and have those discussions too, as well as our staff meetings. And we do track progress in there. And we do push kids to get it on Fridays, so I feel that we're doing that.
So you're saying remove or edit this to say.
This advisory groups and just say, you could say teacher meetings, individual teacher meetings, or staff meetings.
So through individual.
Yeah, individual and staff. You don't necessarily need to mention the rounding.
Mm-hmm.
And then number 6, we talked about this today, exploring the possibility of a study skills course for high school students, and we've talked about this quite a bit in our focus group as well. Katie, you go ahead and talk about what we talked about.
Yeah, kind of tying it back into that course catalog too, digging into what
our leadership and service class does as freshmen. A lot of the topics that they cover in that freshman class could be considered the study skills and then the soft skills related to seeking out jobs as adults too. So I think we're already kind of doing it and maybe looking at ways of implementing it or reinforcing it in all of the classes versus a separate standalone at this point.
So then would we need it as a separate line item, knowing that it's kind of being built in as a standard?
I think I could
Would you
word in there that
recommend?
it's gonna be a built-in piece of our elective courses instead of a standalone.
Or take it all together? Do you like having it in there? I don't know the foundation of.
Yeah, I'd
why
like to
it's
keep
in
it there just for the
Okay.
simple fact that it's something that we've talked about quite a bit and wanna make sure that it's happening.
So what does that look like building it in? I just, what is that?
Go ahead.
So rather than having a standalone course where they're only talking about study skills or career readiness for an entire semester, embedding it into using the language that they're learning in the leadership and service class, but then having a school-wide language with regards to speaking, this is how we're taking notes, and not necessarily dictating how those notes should be taken, but using the same language across the board.
So each class you would establish kind of what those good study behaviors are for that class at the beginning.
Within the first couple weeks of the class, you would look through that.
And then, yeah, just reinforcing it, because if it's a one and done, it's not gonna transfer anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we had a career and college readiness course that met once a week all year back in Thief River,
Mhm.
and there was no transfer
Mm-hmm.
from week to week or year to year, and we didn't see anything that we taught in that class come through the rest of it unless the teacher was very intentional about tying it back in.
And remind
And
you.
that's what you're gonna try to do more of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, do more of the transferring and tying in versus the standalone.
The
Yeah.
other thing that I was thinking of here, the next time Gail is coming, which I'm gonna talk about in my report, is she's going to be interviewing students. So it would be nice to get some feedback from students, and if there's anything that comes out of that, I think we could add almost anything to the strategic plan that would target, probably fall into this area, but it's something that we can see what becomes of it.
Sure. Any other ads or?
No, right now.
I don't know if this would be, I know we do cover a little bit of policy. I just say it because it comes up in public conversation. I mean, and you hear about it across, is the cell phone policy? I mean, is this an area where, I mean, are we meeting twice a year on that? I mean, I'm just, it's obviously a topic, right, that comes up, and I mean, are we assessing that all the time, or on a regular basis, I guess I should say, or what's the?
I'll let you two answer that. I don't hear much.
I can say phones haven't been a huge issue as far as their behaviors in phones. I can count maybe 5 to 10 times throughout the course of the year has a teacher commented on a phone, and most of the time when that happens, we take the phone for the day, and then I don't see that kid's phone for a really long time afterwards. And then the biggest thing has been with phone use, occasionally taking a picture of an assignment, but then we address that as it is, which is, part of the plagiarism and cheating. And then again, that usually solves itself after that conversation. So it hasn't seemed to be a huge distraction from hearing it from teachers or seeing it in the office.
So the behaviorals we've got a pretty good handle on how much that, I think, how do we quantify the overall effect on the learning process? Do we really have a grasp on the distraction that what I just looked at 10 minutes ago? Is my mind here, or is it there? That type of stuff, I mean, is it?
The problem with trying to quantify that would be they have their computers all the time. So how do you know if it's the phone that's the issue, or they have a tab open on their computer they're not supposed to? That would be the hard part with that, is their phones aren't the only distraction.
Right.
I think that we have to let the teachers kind of lead this, and if the teachers start saying phones are an issue, or I can't handle phones in my classroom, and they need us to step in my opinion, that's when we step in. At this point, I just,
I'm just asking a question. I'm just
Yep,
asking if
yep.
that's it, because again, I mean, there are a lot of districts in Fairmount that are looking at it or have done it, have put it in place, and
I would be curious if after this year, I know a lot of them did at the beginning of this year, I would be curious if any studies are done or what those, if they continue to do it after this year, or, if the ones that made it a big deal at the beginning of this year, how they're feeling about it now, or, if they're even gonna continue, or if they don't, like, what difference are they seeing? I would be curious.
Mhm. Yeah, it'd be nice to learn from others.
Yeah,
before we
yeah,
make a decision.
Yep.
What they're experiencing.
well, thank you.
That's all I got there today.
Okay. So you'll maybe mock up some of those changes and,
Yes. I can
or
send
we'll
it
just
out
kind of hold
over-
off. Sorry, I'm thinking through this out loud. We do the annual review, so maybe we'll just hold it until we do the
That's fine.
annual changes.
It's fine.
Unless you guys think we should update the section now.
I will, otherwise it won't be fresh on
I was
mine.
thinking
so-
that after I said that. Update the one section to the changes. So just bring us that next time and then we'll bless it. Okay, thanks for letting me talk that through. Okay, that's that one. Now the next one was the next couple are the added that we end at the end. One is the resignation of Sandy Blah.
Yeah, I've got Sandy's resignation letter, which I handed to you guys. She's put in 17 years here in kindergarten and Head Start, so I want to thank her for her time here and dedication, and wish her the best of luck. So
Yeah.
thank you to Sandy.
17 years is a long time, and she was a great kindergarten teacher, so she'll be missed. All right, I'll take a motion, sad to say.
So move, Wade.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carried. The next is Grant Holden has asked to volunteer as a softball coach, so taking approval for that.
Yeah, right now we do not have an assistant softball coach, so he has agreed to step up and fill that void and help out when he can. So
Oh, thanks. Grant.
appreciate it.
Mhm. Take a motion.
I will make a motion.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Next is the report section, and Mr. Schoenbeck.
Yeah, my report is on page 17 if you want to take a look at it. And I've had a couple additions here since Friday, so. A brief legislative update, if you've been following. This is the last week of the legislative session, so they wrap up on Thursday, I think, of this week. There are a few bills out there. Most notable are some property tax bills. And the most recent report I got on Friday is they don't know where they're going to end up, so there's going to be an eye on that. And then obviously where school funding is going to end up out of appropriations. Proposed 1.25, they're hoping for 2, but we've also heard that we would be lucky to get anything over 1.25. So we'll see what comes of it this week. I just wanted to talk on special education. If you take a look at your second page of that handout, this is our official child count for this school year, which is the highest it's been for a long time. We have 99 kids right now who are on IEPs in special education, which constitutes nearly 19% of our student population. On the top part there, you've got all of the disability categories and the number of kids that are within those disability categories, along with, at the bottom, our yearly child count for those school years, as well as enrollment and the percentage. And you can see a trend here in the last 3 years, and I think most schools are seeing a trend of their special education numbers rising. And with that, a shortage of special education teachers. We just had a superintendent meeting on Wednesday, and everybody in attendance was told to say what they had for openings, and I would say 90% of them had a special ed opening. And filling that void with somebody that's not certified is not easy. So definite shortage in there and a rise in numbers. So I figured I would share that information with you as a board just to keep you in the know. NPIP, that's Northern Plains Insurance Plan. We, Ellen and I are going to be going to Huron on Wednesday to find out where our insurance is, if we get an increase or a decrease, and we'll know more. We'll know a lot more this week between the state funding and our insurance increase, what we have to negotiate with staff coming up here. South Dakota Literacy Grant, I've talked about this before. I was informed that that has been a victim of DOGE, so right now it is on hold. We were supposed to actually get application materials for this in the beginning of February, so nobody really knows as to where it's going to go or if it'll come back in some form with less money. It's just kind of on hold right now, as are quite a few things. Teacher of the Year. I'm glad to announce that Cindy Conal is our Teacher of the Year this year. She was nominated and selected. And if you were on KXLG today, it was on the KXLG website. She'll be recognized. We recognized her last Friday at our staff meeting. Had to make sure she was going to be there the day before without her knowing, but she was obviously there and surprised. And we will recognize her again at the end of the year at our end of the year staff get together. So very deserving and a good teacher. Did you tell your mom? Congrats. Okay. Okay. Two other things I wanted to talk about here is we met with Gail late Friday morning, and she's going to be here on April 8th just to guide us through some of the next steps with building on what we've done with both the strategic plan and the rounding process, more so the rounding process. But she'll also be talking to students that day, so we're going to divide up some students, and she'll get some feedback from them and build on that culture piece with them too. So
How are you deciding with students?
well, that's a great question. She's going to be, we asked her before we got done, and she's going to send us the format that she wants. So we'll sit down and put some groups together. So I don't have an answer for that yet.
Okay.
So we got a little bit of time.
Yep.
Last but not least, the band position. We interviewed last Thursday with one candidate, and we have another candidate that we're interviewing tomorrow. So hopefully mid to late week here, we will hopefully have a band teacher. So that's promising. It's been a long time. So that's wonderful, especially in March, getting that taken care of. So that is all I have. All I have is the regular board meeting here on the 14th. Keep in mind here, we're going to be having some meetings with negotiations and pulling some things together
Yeah.
between now and then. So we will keep you posted on what we find out for funding and insurance raise, and
So we don't need to plan another meeting
not right now.
until maybe that
No.
meeting, and then maybe
Yep.
another one after that?
Yep.
Mhm.
That's all I've got.
Okay. All right, Principal Hahn.
So I'm going to go just a little bit out of order from what I have on here, and I first want to acknowledge that March is Music in Our Schools Month, and so the news of the potentially having a band director by the end of the week
Yeah.
is amazing. But that also ties into the staff member that I would like to recognize. I want to take a moment and recognize Doug Dyke, our chorus director. I very much appreciate, as a fellow music educator, his patience and his quiet demeanor, his rehearsal skills. It's a lot of fun to pop in there and see how he is able to work with just a very small group of students at a time, and the other students are all just being amazing in the background. And then the way that he is able to switch from the students he's working with to the next set of students, the transition is just amazing. He does a lot of before school practices, especially when he's preparing the course members for all state auditions and all of that. And he also makes sure to always attend the region meetings, so that way he knows what's going on in the area with other chorus directors. So, thank you to Doug. Social studies curriculum, we have been searching for different curriculums that align to the new social studies standards. And so Dusty and Isaac have been doing a great job of digging through a lot of materials and seeing what fits the most.
And so I think we've arrived at one, so we'll be able to dig into that a little bit more. We are entering testing season. We have the ACT. We have over 30 students signed up to take it tomorrow morning. And on March 19th, we have the National Career Readiness Certificate testing that Leslie is in charge of, so that will happen. And then we will start our Smarter Balance in the high school the week of April 14th and the middle school on the week of April 21st. We were able to recognize Students of the Month last week. Those are all listed. And we had 11 middle schoolers receive Cardinal cards and 14 high schoolers receive Cardinal cards.
In February. So we have some pretty amazing kids.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, good idea. All right, Mr. Ralph, you can go ahead.
All right. Elementary report and athletic director report. You can see my February student of the month for each grade level listed there, as well as our Cardinal Card winners for the month. For my staff shout out this month, I want to recognize our paras. They do a great job they're kind of the glue in the classroom and in the rooms that they provide their services. They're extremely flexible. Team players just jump on and are willing to do what is asked of them to do without them. And I think the other thing they do a great job of is just creating those student relationships with those that they work with, and the teacher relationships. If there's a flaw in the system, it's between relationships, and I think ours do a great job, and our teachers do a great job as well, as to build that relationship and hold the accountability level high for them as well. And I would like to welcome Melissa to that mix now as well. So just a big shout out to our paras. They're, like I said, they're kind of the glue, and a lot of behind the scenes stuff that nobody gets to hear or see or anything like that. So wanted to give them a shout out this month. So thank you. Smarter Balance testing, elementary window is set for April 14th through the 24th, and our NWA testing window will open on the 28th or after that. State testing is completed. I mentioned a little bit last time about our family-friendly walkthrough. They will be here conducting our meeting, I guess, so to speak, with the parents and the staff that were originally involved in that 3 years ago. They'll be here March 25th, the morning of. And in that evening, we'll do a K through 8 health and fitness night. They're going to kind of load it or drive it, but we are asking for our high school students to help run all those tables. HOSA has been asked, and then as well as Key Club. So if those two organizations don't fill it, the volunteer spots will extend it out to those that have interest in doing it. But with the health and fitness aspect of it, Mrs. Hinker thought that would be a great fit for the HOSA kids. So, and then so the activities will go from 5 to 6, and then after that we'll provide a small supper with some pizza for them, like we did last year. So hope to have a good turnout at that. School store, I know I talk about this at the beginning of the year. It's a fundraiser that our elementary has kind of incorporated in the last couple of years. They can gain money back by purchasing gift cards for teachers, or the one that I try to push more is buying merchandise through the school store. They go on to websites from there, Walmart, Kohl's, all those types of different places that give a percentage back to the school off of the sales. So if you do online shopping, we just ask that you start with the school store and then go to your sites after that. And there's so far this year we've gotten $106.24 donated back to the school. Those are the things that money kind of drives our incentives that we have, our pizza parties, our end of the year AR parties, some of the other outings that we do. So we utilize that money. The big number that I can't ever get over is the number of gift cards that our teachers get donated to them. There's been $7,010 worth of gift cards donated to our teachers in pre-K through 5. Granted, they can only spend that on that school store website, and things are a little bit inflated price-wise, but it's stuff that they wouldn't have otherwise. So it's a great opportunity for them, and can't thank our community and parents and kids enough for getting involved in it and getting behind it. So South Dakota Smart, I had that on there twice. My apologies. I didn't proofread very well. Conferences. We have conferences coming up here the end of March 28th. Conferences will be held from 8 to 4. And Friday, the Sign Up Genius link went out for parents to get signed up. And teachers have been reaching out to some of those parents that maybe, things are going great. Unless you have some concerns, there's not really a reason to meet. I think that is twofold to a degree. I think our parents do a great job of communicating, so they don't have to wait until March 28th to find out if there is an issue. They're well aware of it prior to that, so that's a shout out to the teachers as well for keeping parents informed. On to the athletic director side of thing, our winter sports banquet will be held on March 24th at 7 p.m., and we will do that in the Stage Gym. State wrestling, congratulations to Gavin Matson, Corbin Whiteley, and Gavin Cluse for qualifying, and then to Gavin Close for placing 3rd at state, and Corbin Whiteley for placing 5th at state. Congratulations to them. Congratulations again to the gymnastics team with their 3rd place finish at state. Lacey Anderson 8th in beam. Hannah Cutshaw made the all-tournament team. Beam 10th, bars 5th, floor 4th, and all around 8th. And Ty Engels all-tournament team, vault 2nd, floor 9th, and the all-around 9th. And then also a shout out to our former coach, Caitlin Stephenson. She was inducted into the Gymnastics Hall of Fame at the state tournament. So congratulations to her. I do have one add-in right here that was not out, or out to the public, I should say, prior to today. LCC All-Conference for basketball. Congratulations to J.C. Horrigan. On the girls' side of things, Jackson Peterhines and Gabe Sather for being selected to the LCC All-Conference team. Esports. Congratulations to the varsity team. They placed 4th at the state esports tournament. And we had a little bit of hard luck with a girl getting sick on the final day of it, which Mr. Gehring is positive they'd overtaken Jefferson and gotten 3rd, or Harrisburg, or whomever it was. But shout out to those kids. I mean, they're playing against schools way larger than we are, and had a great showing. So
How many did we send again? Do you remember?
I think there was we sent JV and varsity, so there was a total, supposed to be in the total of 12, but I think we ended up sending 9 or 10 kiddos. So
That's a lot.
yep. And then spring sports. Track, I think, got started outside today.
Woo-hoo.
I don't
Never
know how
happened.
long. I don't know if I can ever remember that they've been able to start their first practice outdoors, but until Saturday.
Right,
Golf can start March 25th, and then softball can start on March 11th. So we have a little bit of a break here in between seasons, but it will get ramped up here before we can even imagine. So.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Ellen, you want to do your report, please?
Have 1094s, 1095s are done and submitted, and I know you had mentioned that we didn't have to hand them out. Well, I looked, I couldn't find anything. As soon as I handed them out, I got an email saying that we didn't have to, that we just had to have them available. So anyway, they did get handed out this year, yeah, to everyone. But hopefully going forward, you just have to have them available if anybody asks for them. Audit, they are done with the audit. Danae and I had an issue trying to get, there's a form that had to be signed by both of us and submitted to them. So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have the audit report to bring to the meeting. Budget, everybody was supposed to have their budget requests in by Friday. I had a couple come in today, and I just need to go through and make sure I have everybody's, but everybody was pretty good at getting everything turned in on time. There's one that I didn't expect to have, and and it was there. So yeah, yep. So everybody did got those in. So I'll start getting those all compiled and stuff, so we can start taking a look at those numbers.
And we did have a finance committee too. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, or you want me to?
You can if you want. I
was just gonna add to it. We met on February 26th, and we just kind of started looking at the kind of 5-year projection numbers. So Ellen put together, and I know has done some work since that meeting that I haven't had time to look at. Again, I don't know if you have either, but right. So we're hoping to dissect a little bit of Ellen's work, and then we'll meet again, and so hopefully we'll bring that information to the next board meeting, hopefully.
And then I didn't have it on here either, but I'm gonna, there's some business manager training in Sioux Falls on March 25th that I'll be, I'm gonna head down to.
So we should be able to start projecting with the Southwind project now approved.
Oh, it's approved? Yeah.
Yeah, it was actually approved, yeah. I already had that, in there, but I guess I haven't seen dates of when, like, since it was approved, I haven't seen the dates of when they propose that it'll be up and going. So that may change maybe what, where the stuff is. But yeah, I had put that in the wind tower proposal stuff. But it'll just be a matter of
That's the best guess.
if we have it in the right, like date-wise of when we would start getting payments on that.
Because it'll be similar size to the North project now, I believe. So
What's that?
It'll be similar size to the North project, so it'll be fairly substantial.
Right, but I think, if I remember correctly when I went, I think it was a third of it will be in the Dubuque School District and 2/3 will be in the Deuel School District. Yeah.
Still.
Yep, yeah. Yeah, I think it'll be similar to the North one is what I understood when we went to the meeting.
Were the dates in there? I didn't even read it enough to know.
I didn't either, so I'm gonna have to look at that and see if they have a projected date, whether it aligns with what I already have in the projections or if we'll need to change that.
Sure.
So is it in May we have to have the preliminary of the budget? Is that right?
Yep.
May, yep.
That's me, yeah.
It's right around the corner.
Yeah, so do we want to review anything at the April meeting
Yeah,
on the
so
budget?
we'll review like a budget mock-up and then that 5-year, hopefully, lookout kind of projection. That's the plan, hopefully, for April. Yeah, we just haven't, Ellen's put some stuff together, but we gotta.
Yeah, well, I just need to compile, since we just got all the requests in on
Yeah.
Friday, so I need to start getting all that put together,
Finalize it.
see where we're at there, and then, yeah. And hopefully if we know at the end of this week what they're proposing for increases too, we can plug those numbers
Yeah.
in, and, because I think originally I plugged in, I don't know, like 3 or 4% or something. Well, if we're at 1% or 2% or whatever, I'll need to recalculate, put those numbers in and see where we're at, because the state calculator and stuff is out for that, so.
Right. Okay, anything else for Ellen? or anything else from you? Sounds good. All right, Wade, do you want to talk about NESD?
All right, yep, we met on the 17th of February. I attended by Zoom. The game that night. Assistant, or financial report, again, nothing significant there, pretty straightforward. Assistant Director's report, Tim discussed revisions to the Title IX policy, that the 2024 regulations will be in place for 2025, so they're reverting back to the 2020 regulations as of, I guess, February 4th. Director's report from Aniki. She discussed, again, the building, talked about purchasing the gym portion of the current building, but again, just preliminary discussions, nothing really permanent there yet. Talked about openings within the co-op, two school psych openings, one occupational therapist and one speech therapist. I'm working on getting those filled. She also touched on a literacy grant, but at that time we didn't know it, but yeah, it's now on hold. I again talked about the two different form systems that they're looking at. And they're gathering more information, trying to decide which way they want to go for reporting. She said they've completed their district visits, or she has, and then also is in the midst of planning spring PD programs for the co-op. No report on the Board of Advisors. I guess they didn't meet. The beginning, just like here, we'll be doing negotiations coming up the end of March and April. Any questions? No. Thanks.
Okay. Any other business not on the agenda?
I think so.
No? All right. Well, we will then move into executive session pursuant to South Dakota Codified Law 1-25-2, subgroup 3, for reviewing communications from legal counsel at 6:59. Motion? Second? Reed? All in favor say aye. Opposed? Motion carried.